Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is March 20th of the year 2024. It's Wednesday afternoon in LA, but early evening here in South Jersey. That means it's time for another episode of Material Issues. It's episode number 146. I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records. I'm over here in South Jersey, just outside of Philadelphia, where it's a balmy 60 degrees. And joining me, as always, we call him Ironheart now, Mr. David Bash of the International Pop Overthrow Festival. First of all, David, good afternoon.
Thank you.
How the heck are you feeling, man? Everybody wants to know how David Bash is feeling.
Now, honestly, I'm going through some issues right now. I'm working on them. I hope to have them resolved. My cardiologist says that my blood numbers are all really, really good. But there's some other stuff going on, and we don't need to get into that here. But stuff I need to work on, and hopefully it won't be too long before it's resolved. But I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm queer. Get used to it. No. Well, I am pretty queer in the true sense of the word. I'm odd. No doubt about that.
Yeah, we're going to use the word queer in the original way it was meant.
Right.
Yeah. You're just
I'm
odd.
certainly that. Just got this in the mail today.
Love Street, yes.
On Love Street, music from Laurel Canyon, 1967 to 1975. Yet another great box set on Grapefruit Records.
Grapefruit is a fantastic label.
So this actually spans 7 years, and it's all this Laurel Canyon stuff. So I cannot wait to dig into this. Not out yet, but of course, Dusty Groove. You got to go there to get things early if you want them. If you want them early, that's the place to go.
Dusty Groove Records online, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, let's see. Let's do a little watch check here. It's not a new one.
The shirt. Is it matching the shirt?
Some of it is actually. It's my Xeric. It's the Xeric Halograph 3.
Oh, yeah, very nice.
You have a Xeric watch as well. You have a regulator, I believe, right?
Regulator, yep.
Which is a very cool thing. This one
makes coffee. Yeah, it makes coffee. That's the percolator. I'm sorry.
This one, of course, is unusual as you tell the time with circles over the hour and minute hand. Takes a little while to get used to, but it's got the yellow and cyan, so that goes with the shirt. And I always love a vertical day date window like this one has.
It's nothing like a vertical day date.
Yeah. Mark's making fun of me. Anyway, I don't wear this one too often because it's not that easy to. You can't tell the time on it very quickly, but it's a cool conversation piece and it looks nice. So anyway, that's what I'm sporting today.
You're sporting it. I just got in. Hey,
right now.
You're the one. Yeah, you're the one that gets everything in all the time. But I just got something in today that I've been waiting on because you couldn't really find it. But it's the hour-long Delamitri documentary, You Can't Go Back, which is all about the making of the latest album, Fatal Mistakes.
Mark Hershberger, the biggest Delamitri fan I know.
Love Delamitri. And of course, we just heard the news that Justin Curry has Parkinson's.
It's really sad.
Which is sad. But the
Uncle Devil Show is another one. I
like
that one more than anything by Delamitri, actually. I
probably do too. Did that. I did the South Jersey basketball all-star game on Sunday called 2 games, the 8th grade game and then the senior South Jersey All-Stars. So my voice is still jumping back from that. And as we mentioned, I've got a short film I'm starting to shoot this weekend and for a number of weekends coming up.
Next week we don't have a guest, so we can talk about whatever. And I think, and I'm sure a lot of other people are going to want to hear about what the film is about and how the shoot went.
I'm going to want to hear about what it's about too. I'm not really sure. It's all good.
But anyway, I'll tell you what today's episode is about. It's about two members of a band who, I use the term one-hit wonder because they don't mind that term at all. And as I think Dave said in the documentary, hey, that's one more hit than most people have had. And that's very true. Very unusual in that the song got up to number 43 on the Billboard charts, but was on for 23 weeks. You almost never see that. Well, that's one of the questions I want to ask about how in the world that happened. How was it on the charts so long, but didn't get any bigger than 43? And I know they have the answer to that question. But it's one of those things like the Five Satins and the Still of the Night, maybe the biggest oldie of all time. It only got up to number 23 on the charts. More Today Than Yesterday. Huge oldie by Spiral Staircase. Didn't even make the top 10. And this song, This Beat Goes On, Switchin to Glide by our guests, is one of the biggest radio hits that ever was. It happens sometimes. So, certain songs, maybe when they're played on the radio initially, they don't run up the charts, but over time they gain momentum and they become iconic. And that song certainly is. And not only that,
outside of Denver,
there are a whole lot of women named Judy and Donna who think it's about them, but apparently it's not. But anyway, said song, This Beat Goes On, Switchin to Glide, is only one of many that this band has done over the years. And while that song came out 44 years ago, they're not done. And then the title of the new album is very apropos, The Longest Story Ever Told. And it's out there on Dizzy Records, both on CD and vinyl. And these guys have always been so gracious. The band has played IPO many times. And in fact, they would always invite me up to sing, well, in my case, to shout, Switchin to Glide chorus. So anyway, without further ado, would you please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Mr. Dave Diamond and Mr. Zero of the Kings.
Whoa, hello. Woo-hoo. How you doing, guys? Nice to see you, bro.
Great. Thank you so much for being here.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's really great to see you. David and I had been talking all week about your appearance, and we've had some ups and downs and trying to reschedule and get you back on here and make it right. So we're so happy you're here.
So glad it worked out. Yeah,
well, we're happy to be here.
That iconic track, This Beat Goes On, Switchin to Glide. It's one of those tracks that, if you're of any certain age around us and a little younger, you hear it again. I told people tonight online, this is going to be an earworm. We're going to remind you of this song, and you're not going to be able to forget it. You're going to be walking your dog all day tomorrow, singing "Switchin to Glide."
That's right.
And of course,
nothing matters but the weekend.
This is a question that you guys have been asked a lot because people want to know, well, what does glide mean in this case? So tell us about that.
Well, it was sort of came from a thing where my family used to go on vacation sometimes, and one particular place we went to was upper New York State and some of the state parks. I mean, we went down to Washington D.C. and New York City and stuff. But one time we were in a park in New York State, and I remembered my dad, when he'd get to the top of a hill in one of these mountainous, like in the Alleghenies, he would put the car in neutral and just coast down the hill. And so when I was thinking about this song, I thought about that, and I thought, well, and this is a pretty dumb idea, but what would it be like if you were in an airplane and you shut off the motor and you just glided along, which you don't do that.
And I promise I won't.
Yeah.
Unless you're the glider.
Anyway, that's where the idea of Switchin to Glide came from, was memories of our vacations in the summer when my folks had, 2 weeks off every year. And that's what we did. So
it's amazing. It's amazing where inspirations for songs come from. Sometimes it's something as random as that.
It's true.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, as anybody familiar with the song knows, it's basically two different songs. It's This Beat Goes On, which then transitions into Switchin to Glide. And you told it an interesting story I saw online. It was probably in the documentary, the One Hit Wonder documentary, which is wonderful, about trying to meld those two songs together, and it wasn't working for Bob Ezrin, and you had to figure something different out. Can you run through that a little bit?
Well, it was actually, we wrote it as a segue, but the first part, that this beat goes on part of the song, Bob didn't like the chord progression through the early verses of it. He loved the idea of the segue. We had the segue already put together, but he didn't like the chord progression of the first half. He said, "There's something wrong here. It just doesn't gel. I don't know what it is, and go fix it." So I took a break for a half an hour, whatever. These guys were working. I just sort of was changing the chords around and used the same melody basically, and I got it. I went back to the studio. How's this? And Bob says, "That's it." And then because we had already recorded the first album, we already recorded it ourselves independently late at night, in the middle of the night at Nimbus Studio. And when Bob came in and heard, he loved that song, but he said there's something wrong. So we fixed it, and the rest is history.
Was it kind of a random thing that Bob, who's Canadian, by the way, a lot of people don't know that because he made his mark producing, U.S. and UK bands such as Aerosmith and Alice Cooper, Deep Purple, and Kiss. But was it just random that he happened to be there and he heard you guys?
Well, we managed to get some money together and hire this excellent studio in Toronto where Bob had worked before with Alice Cooper, and his mentor, Jack Richardson, worked out of the Nimbus 9 studio, which was in Yorkville, which is this really hip place in downtown Toronto. And
great studio.
And we managed to weasel our way into a night rate, by going in late at night with our engineer, Mike McCarty, who's gone on to do great things. And then one day we were in there in the evening, and Bob was back in Toronto after spending 2 years or more with Pink Floyd making The Wall. And he was back in the city and stopped by to just check out some of the people that worked in the studio and his old friends and that. And we were in there, and our manager played him the tape that we were working on. And he took it home. His kids liked the upbeat kind of vibe of the band, and then we asked him if he would mix a couple songs for us, which he agreed to do. And then in the process of that, he realized that while we had talent and good ideas, we were pretty useless in the studio, and he knew that he could fix it up and do a better job. And because he was the #1 producer in the world at that time with the #1 album being Pink Floyd, he flew to LA and talked to a guy named Kenny Batiste at Elektra Records on La Cienega Boulevard. And the famous story goes that the window was open on La Cienega, and he played him the demo of Switchin to Glide, and there was some kids outside walking by, and they all stopped to listen and were dancing on the sidewalk outside.
So looking outside, hey, I think we got something.
This thing might have something here. So that's what led to that. It was the Cinderella story of all time. And then we went into rehearsal with Bob for a month. And then we were in the studio for like 6 weeks. So it was incredible.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is Bob Ezrin, and we went through everybody he's worked with, and what he just came off of Pink Floyd and The Wall. He hears this. He hears you up in Toronto at the studio in Yorkville, and you say to him, "Well, can you mix a couple?" This is Bob Ezrin. Does he say, "Yeah, I can mix a couple tracks for you, but it's $20,000 a track"? Or this is not. I mean,
well, they got the midnight rate though, so maybe.
Yeah, midnight rate.
The fringe rate there, I guess.
I mean, he must have more than just been a little interested in what you were doing in order to get that involved for who he was and his resume.
He gave us a rate. It wasn't inexpensive by any means. And we don't know if we could have gone for the whole album, but he did one or two. And then he realized these guys are pretty good. And so that's what led to that. And
of course, then Elektra Records and they covered Bob's thing and then of course we've been paying it back ever since, basically.
Yeah.
But it was Bob who basically got you your deal with Elektra.
Bob he got us the deal.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
That son of a gun.
I think, but the idea that for him to, to apparently he said that he heard that Bob was scouting some other local Toronto because he had been away for so long. He wanted to stay in Toronto with his family and and maybe have a project to work on while he was at home. I think that's sort of maybe what happened. And then he just happened to stumble on us guy on this beat, Switchin' the Glide.
We had a secret weapon called Switchin' the Glide, and we had this guy singing. And so that's what did it right there.
Did people in your circle hear that and say that's a hit?
Yeah, I think
I mean, it was always a pretty catchy tune.
Well, I remember it blew my own mind. I blew my own mind when the first time I was playing strumming. We had the "This Beat Goes On" part, and of course it goes on and on and on. We didn't know how to end it. It was like on and on and on and on. And I came up with the idea that da 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 da, and he had the Switchin' the Glide. They get all the pieces just seemed to fall together.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I was down on the beaches in Toronto, strumming a guitar and playing, and then I just hooked this da 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 at the end of on and on and on and on, and I went, that's it. I go one of those moments, and that was Z and I. We go, that's it. That's it.
The way that Bob worked at the time was like you'd play the song and he'd go, yeah, okay, good, and then when it gets to a part where he doesn't like it, he tells you to stop. Stop. Go fix that. And you go, well, we thought it was all right. So you have to defer to his, knowledge. And
what does fix it mean?
Yeah.
And that was the question mark. And he said, and if he didn't come back with a fix, I think he would have walked out. He would have left us probably. I think we had to show that we had some kind of credibility in songwriting to even work with us,
So the music, Dave changed the music to it. And then the lyrics didn't fit anymore very well. And so we rewrote all those to what you have now. I mean, it still had Hey Judy and Trudy and all that at the beginning, but there was in the other verses, it was a totally different idea behind it. But it just made it more commercial what we came up with after that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And his, Nothing Matters But the Weekend from a Tuesday point of view is so brilliant. And it was hard to follow that line, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that obviously I had that line and then I was thinking, boy, that's pretty good.
Now what am I going to do?
Now I got writer's block.
Well, then you set a high bar with something like that. And then it's like the second line, took me a long time to get like a kettle in the kitchen. I feel the steam begin to brew. Well, because that took days. Just racking my brain trying to come up with something good. And then I went, yeah, that is good. So that's what stuck, and that's what's in there now.
Now, before, didn't you guys start out with the name Whistle King? And you were
that was.
you were more of a prog band initially than anything else, right?
Yeah, we had like 7-8 minute long songs that were just sort of like Yes or some kind of a lyrical type of
like Genesis or something. We just had we were these young guys with too many ideas, So we'd be in rehearsal and stick another idea in every bar, like some lick or some dumb thing, and it just got carried away and
out of control.
Yeah, and then
and then we realized it's not very commercial.
not by the late 70s.
So we were playing in the bars, and we started learning, like when the Cars and Elvis Costello and all that new wave stuff started all coming out. We started learning those songs and doing them King's way, like our way, and seeing that a 3-minute song works a lot better than a 7 or 8 minute long thing. And
one of the first songs we had of that less complicated vibe was Dave's song "Don't Let Me Know."
Yeah.
And that was the second single off our first album, "The Kings Are Here," and
there it is there.
And we won the first homegrown contest ever in Toronto. You know how radio stations sponsor homegrown.
Yep.
You send in your tape. It was literally tapes back then. And we got chosen out of 600 entries for the finals, and then we won the whole thing with that song. And that was another thrilling thing. And of course, as time went on through the 80s and that, when those kind of contests got big, they would give the winners, like they give them 50 grand in cash, and they'd have a guaranteed record deal and equipment and everything else. And we got a free lunch.
Wait, was this,
with some chicken joint.
some Super Sessions?
That's right. It was called Super Sessions or
That's
something.
what it was called.
I don't know why. I thought your song "Turn Your Face to the Wall" was the one.
That's what it was titled originally. That's right.
Oh.
Boy, you really know your stuff.
Now
That's what
you
it
must
was
have
called.
gotten that. You must have gotten that title from "You've Got to Hide Your Love Away." I would
Well,
imagine.
I did, yes.
Yep.
I mean, that's a really great line. Turn my face to the wall. Yeah, that's right. And then we changed the title of it because the chorus is "Don't Let Me Know."
Well, actually, I think it went into like, we're going to call it "Let Me Know," and I think Bob said, "That's too wimpy. Why don't you call it "Don't Let Me Know"? Like, give the finger to the ex-girlfriend there. So
Yeah. Now you guys, let's rewind a little bit further before we get into Whistle Kings. You guys both grew up outside of Toronto.
Yeah, in a small
Toronto.
town.
Sorry, Toronto.
Toronto, yeah, only one T in Toronto.
Yeah.
The town of Oakville, Ontario. It's just west of Toronto. And, both our families are proprietors with mom and pop stores on the main street.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
And his family store was on one block and mine was on the other block. And just so we sort of come from the same background. We're totally different people, but we come from the same sort of cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, indeed. Were you was your family musical? Did you learn music, piano, guitar from parents, brothers? How did music become a thing for you?
Well, my dad played keyboard, and he wasn't really good, but we always had either a piano or a Lowry organ in the house, and I had an uncle who was a really good baritone singer for the church. He led the church choirs and stuff. But I always loved music. I don't know what.
Yeah, there wasn't that much music in the house. My mom took piano lessons, but didn't like it. But her dad was the tuba player in the Montreal Symphony. My folks are from Quebec.
Oh, wow.
And he was also the president of the Montreal Musicians Union. And so I thought that was the side of the family that had music in it. And then I only learned later when I went and got one of those ancestry DNA tests done that I met a cousin I didn't know that I had who looked into my dad's side of the family, and his parents and his cousins and all that all had bands in Quebec, all playing all over the place. So
isn't that interesting? It's fascinating how you didn't understand where it came from, and the DNA test kind of showed you a whole lineage of people that it's in your DNA.
Didn't you did one too, didn't you, Mark?
I did it because I'm adopted. Didn't know anything, about medical and whatnot. And I one of the reasons, one thing that fascinates me when I did it was I had this love for Scandinavian pop music. There's a guy out of Toronto. What was his name? Jackson.
Luke Jackson.
Luke Jackson, good friend of Jamie's. Everybody. He was sending me these compilation CDs where he put all this Scandinavian pop music on it, and I just I fell in love with it. Well, my DNA test showed that I'm 98% Danish on my paternal side, and a bunch of other stuff on my maternal side. So there's a reason that Scandinavian-based music was clicking a thing inside of me, and that's right there.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
I have to tell this story. It's apropos of nothing other than Luke Jackson was also the name of. Luke Jackson was also the name of a professional basketball player. And one year, he and Wilt Chamberlain were on the same team, and they were doing a practice. I think it was the Philadelphia 76ers. They were doing a practice, and things got sort of rough under the boards. Jackson didn't like the way Wilt was bandying him about. So he threw a punch at him. Apparently, Wilt Chamberlain caught the punch and said, "I wouldn't try that again if I were you." he didn't.
No, you wouldn't, would you? Those guys are tough.
Anyway, didn't at least one of you live in Vancouver for a bit?
Yeah, I moved out there. I was trying to. I was a guitar player, but I thought I was okay at it. But I wondered about being in an original band and making records and writing songs, and I thought that I might be able to be a collaborator and write song lyrics and stuff. And this was back in the day when, Elton John was out there and everybody knew, because they kept it no secret, that he had a lyric writer, Bernie Taupin, and then the way they worked on songs and all that. And I thought, well, maybe I could find somebody like that. And I went and lived in London, England for a while, and that didn't work out. And then I came back and then went out and lived in Vancouver. And that's where I met Sonny Keys, our original keyboard player. Right. And so he's a great, talented guy, great songwriter. And so we started writing some songs like that. And that's, it was sort of lyrics first and music to lyrics, which is how Elton John does it. I mean, other people have done it. I've studied all this kind of stuff in quite great depth. But I mean, Richard Rodgers, the only guy that ever did it both ways. He worked with Oscar Hammerstein and Lawrence Hart as well. And they both did it different ways. But that shows you what a genius he was. He could do it anyway. But anyway, that's the way we were doing it. And then we did some demos and that, and thought, well, these sound pretty good, but it'd be great if we had a band. And I said, I know these two guys from back in Ontario, our drummer Max, and this great singer, Dave, that I didn't know that well. And then I played in a band with Max, and he had played in a band with Max, but we had not played together. And so, it's all high school type stuff. And then I came back with our little demo tape, and I talked to our drummer Max, and he said, that's interesting. And then through a mutual friend, I tracked Dave down and got him the tape, and he had his doubts, but he said, well, let's give it a shot. So we went back out to Vancouver, where we had this studio booked, and then we got into this sort of rotten deal with this shady guy out there, which as I found out later, Bryan Adams had some dealings with this same shady guy out there. Only found that out recently, but anyway, we got out of that thing, and then but Dave brought a couple songs that he had been working on.
So I had been in a band before. I've been playing before that for years in bands, and just happened to be I was in between bands and working on tunes when he called me up.
Yeah, so Dave and our drummer, they left high school and went on to play professionally full time. Dave was playing down in Windsor and Sarnia and into Ohio and that. And our drummer Max, he was in a full time band, because that was back in the day when you could get these 6-night bar gigs, and there was a whole circuit, and you could play everywhere and really work out your stuff. People loved live music back then. Yeah. And Sonny and I were both pretty green to deal with these two professional guys, but we rehearsed a lot and got better at it. And then we started getting more and more gigs, and that's what led to writing more and more songs. And we rehearsed, every day, every night in the basement, and just worked at it for 2 or 3 years before we ever got a break. And then what can I tell you? It was
that really comes through in the documentary. What's the full title of that? One Hit Wonder?
Anatomy of a One-Hit Wonder.
Yeah. I mean, that comes through in the documentary that you guys really worked at your craft. You worked, I mean, you rehearsed a lot. And then once you were getting some momentum, you were even rehearsing in front of a large mirror to get to get the entire act down, and the choreograph moves and the bouncing and thing down. And you put a lot of effort into being an overnight sensation, one-hit wonder for years.
Well, we were young and enthusiastic and just loved music so much, and we all have brimming with ideas, and that's what, we were happy.
I find it great that you had to move to Vancouver to ultimately get hooked up with somebody who you grew up with.
We grew up just down the street from each other.
That's really astounding. And Sonny Keys, who you moved back with, he's still with you.
Yeah, well,
on this new album.
Yeah, he is now again. He wasn't for quite a while. He had to, he had his own family and a life to live. And Zero and I just kept playing with other keyboard players, but nobody ever sounded the same. Never. You can always replace somebody, or you can have somebody else play the parts, but it never sounds like the original guy.
No.
And now it's funny you say it about moving back and forth. Sonny just moved to Victoria, and now we're playing gigs back in Ontario with him. So go figure,
He lived here for many years when he wasn't playing with us, and now he's back in BC. But we've had 30 drummers. We've had numerous keyboard players. Special note for our friend Peter Nunn, who played with us for many years.
He's on the new album.
And we love Pete, and he's great. And his wife,
Christina, she's on the album.
She's our other alternate keyboard player. And we love them all. They're great.
Let's play something from the new album. The longest story ever told, right here. Anytime I play somebody's new album, I always want to start with the first track, because I always feel, well, that song wasn't made the first track at random. There's always a reason. So here's the first track from The Longest Story Ever Told, called Always Off the Deep End. Here we go.
Let me tell you what about a guy I think you know? What about a flame that burns harder than
Oh, there we go.
once more out of life than any man? Always on the deep end, always in way overhead, always on the deep end, always thought you were my friend. I depend on you to help me through. Everybody has their lonely nights. What am I to do when I'm away? And all night, catch a taxi to the borderline. Always on the deep end, always in way overhead.
There you go.
Always off the deep end, always thought you were my friend. All I got to give,
Yeah.
you will find where I live.
How it's a party. Dave, your voice sounds great, man.
Thank you.
Always off the deep end, always thought you were my friend. Let me tell you what about a guy I think you know? What about a flame that burns harder than once more out of life than any man? Always on the deep end, always in way overhead, always off the deep end, always thought you were my friend. Always on the deep end, always in way overhead.
That is a total hit. It is such a classic pop song.
Oh, thank you.
And I'll tell you what, we had a young artist on the show last week, Wesley Fuller out of Australia. We talked to him about all the little things that he does with inside a track that I really listen to and I appreciate. When I hear that keyboard, that riff, that little, you know, but then it doesn't just come and go. It fades. It fades for about 8 seconds into the background, and that's just a neat touch.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that's taken care to make sure it works just right, and I love that. Oh, I love that.
Well, when you're producing an album, you got to really pay attention to keep a fresh ear on it, you know, and maybe go away from it for a day or two and come back and hear that mix again. And just, you can hear, like, fresh ears are important when you're making a record.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, just while people are listening to it, thekingsarehere.com. It's scrolling across the bottom. That's the website, thekingsarehere.com. Everything you want to know about the Kings. Pick up, you know, the new album. It's all there. All their social media sites. So if you're not that familiar, or even if you are, you don't know where to find it, right there it is. The Kings
No
are here.
doubt that would have been a hit back in the day. I'm
Yeah.
$1,000,000% confident in that.
Thank you, David. It's back. You got to be on a major label these days, even more than ever, it seems, right?
It's definitely a summertime song. That thing would have fit just perfect for sure.
Is it the first single on the album, or are you doing singles?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and we made a video for that last year, and which is a lot of fun with these crazy characters that we came up with, and the sort of animation type of thing.
Yeah, you have to go on YouTube. Well, we have the YouTube. We got two great videos. We use an old Volkswagen van and some bubble heads on our animated bodies. It's great. It's cool.
Nice.
That was the first single. Now we have a new single. The second song. I don't know if you're going to play the second one on the new album. It is Nowhere to Go But Gone. It's the perfect road trip, spring break, summertime song. Good for driving.
Yeah, I don't know if he has that one queued up.
I don't, but I'm going to cue it up.
We're going to put the pressure on him.
For later then. Sure. Why
Whatever you
not?
want.
Yeah, keep talking. I'm queuing
What
it up.
Hey.
so with this new album, are you guys going to be back out playing some more? What's the plan?
Well, our manager, Joe Bamford, he's been beating the bushes trying to get us shows. We're actually playing next month, April 27th, with our friends, a band called Glass Tiger.
Glass Tiger, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We're playing at a big casino just north of Toronto with them, and they have a huge stage, and all of everybody's played there before us. So that's going to be an exciting show. We're really pumped about that one.
Yeah. And then a big show in Kitchener, Ontario. It's
Later in August.
it's called the Kitchener Blues Fest, but it's more rock and roll. I think it used to be the Blues Festival or something, but it's sort of morphed over to rock and roll stuff. And
there'll be more stuff coming, but we're just
sure. Are your kicks still as high as they used to be?
Well, when you're talking about health issues.
Sonny's when he rehearses, he rehearses his jumps as well. Sonny Keys.
Do you bring in stunt doubles?
We're gonna have to do.
I'm from Texas. Hi there, Gary from Texas.
Hey, Gary. Good to see you. Yeah, Gary.
This album is the first. This is your first album in what, about 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
What got you to decide to write again and do a new album?
well, we've never been the most prolific guys, and it just not having any. The last deal we had was with Jamie Vernon and his label Bullseye.
Yeah, big shout out to Jamie, a good friend of ours.
Oh yeah, Jamie's
We love Jamie and his
One of
wife.
the coolest people that we know. Both
Nice.
Mark and I really love him.
Yeah, us too. And he's the expert on Canadian music. I mean, he wrote the book on it, as a matter of fact.
Literally, yes.
yeah, he did.
An encyclopedia, yeah.
Yeah, which is great.
But as the years went by, we always keep writing. Every year we get a few songs together that, and some of them work and some of them don't. Some of them have great parts, and other parts fail. Sort of don't sound great, so we put it on the shelf, type of thing. And then when the COVID thing happened, it really, we had to do something, you know, because we're starting to get itchy here. This is getting nuts. We couldn't play. We couldn't hardly get together to rehearse or do anything.
But we had kind of started committing to beginning an album, and I mean, it's such a daunting task, as you guys, I'm sure, know. It's record and have 10 great songs. You know, it's just been hi from Vancouver. Hi.
You don't know who you are, but hi.
Anyway, you know, so we started working on the first song on the second side of the album, Circle of Friends, Man That I Am. And it was one of those songs we had in the vault that had a demo, but it was never done right. And it was also too long a song. It was a segue, like Switchin to Glide and This Beat Goes On.
We thought we'd do another segue, but there was extra verses and extra. It was just too long.
So that's another thing we had to do, is get out the scissors and chop it up and try to make it more cohesive and shorter.
And what helped was we sent it to Bob Ezrin, and he agreed to mix that particular song.
That's awesome.
After all these years, you know, we got in touch with him, and he listened to it. And he goes, "Wow, sounds like you guys sound just the same." We went, "Well."
Yeah, we kind of reached out to it. We thought we'd try the three Bobs: Bob Rock, Bob Clearmountain, and Bob Ezrin. And Bob Rock was busy. Bob Clearmountain sent us a deal memo that he would do it. And then we reached out to Bob Ezrin, and we thought, well, we have a history with him, and it might be a better story to keep it in the family, so to speak, as far as that went. But then we realized going along, we have a great engineer, Chris Snow, who has been instrumental in helping us make this album. And so we did the drums in real studios, and we did most of it in the box, as they say, in the computer with audio, you know, samples and this kind of stuff. And so
you play into a box, and you know, sound. You can make it sound like any kind of amp you want. And he always plays Les Paul. And
it's all modelers and this kind of.
Yeah.
And we did Pro Tools, and he's so fast with it that. That as soon as we have an idea, he's done it. And so it's been a great boon for us to work with a guy like that. He's young, he's got great ears. And so it was really helpful for us. And then some of the songs we had played live for a few years, but we never had the money or you know, why record them if we're not going to make an album?
Right. Yeah.
And we decided to make an album, and then we started, you know, rehearsing with our drummer and getting all that kind of stuff that you need to do.
Our new drummer, Todd Reynolds, by the way, well, not new. He joined the band in 2007.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he's the new guy.
And new, yeah. So what is it about the album cover, though? Why the longest story ever told, and whose dog is that?
Whose dog who can't fit in the dog room, in the dog door there?
You wrote that song.
I wrote the song, but I've been saying, you know, this is part of the longest story ever told, the Kings. You know, this, and it changed into you know, I wrote a song, and the song is about, you know, the young guys. Everything is great, you know. It starts off, and then things sort of level off, and then things were a little rough and rocky, but then we write a new song and we play it, and it powers through and keeps the story alive and new.
Well, he said that he's talking to himself about that song.
It's about me, so it's about us, it's about the band, it's about, you know. And as far as the dog,
well, the dog
we played at a big giant farm party about 8 years ago.
Yeah, in 2015 or so, and it was one of these situations like an album cover. It's like, again, what are you going to have for an album cover? You know, we played a gig, and there was somebody who did a poster for it that we thought was good. So I reached out to the art designer for that, and she was going to help us work on this album cover, and then she got too busy, and it didn't work out. And I just had a bad feeling about that, and I just, you know, F you kind of thing. Our album cover for Unstoppable, which is an album we made back in the 90s, it's got a great album cover, which is a photo my mom took of my dad in the basement of our house in the late 50s or something.
Right.
Playing on kids' drums.
And it's a great album cover. And we played this farm party, and I had my camera phone, and our friend Doug, his
Yeah, give it a show.
They have a garage, like a cat door going into the garage. And their dog Sadie had stuck her head in the door, and I thought that's a great photograph.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Really sucks. He did that a lot with their head through there to get the cat's food.
So we're working. I found
That's
that my
funny.
friend Peter Greco was doing the. We were going to do. He's done the videos with us and stuff, and he's a great graphic designer and art guy. And so I said, I always thought that'd be a great album cover. And so I showed it to him. He said, "That's great. I hope you went and took the picture of the dog from the inside." And of course, I never did. So the next thing I had to do was phone our friend Doug and Debbie Bilbia is their name.
Whose
And
dog it is? Yeah, Sadie the dog.
this is 8 years later. Is Sadie still alive? And thank God she was. I drove down the next day and got into the garage, and we.
There's old Sadie still
So
alive.
she had a cat. That's the cat door, but she had a dog door over on the other side of the garage, and
The cat food was close to that little door.
So we
Oh, okay.
we blocked the dog door, and then she's outside, and we're going, Sadie, Sadie, Sadie. And she'd stick her head in and then pull it out. She wouldn't leave it in, and so we had to get dog biscuits and stuff and tempt her to stick her head in the door for long enough to take a picture. And so that's how we got the inside picture. And so she looks a little older, but she's still alive now and has a great dog.
Wow, that's
It's all part of the longest story. Eh? It's all the whole thing is, you know.
I love it.
And now I'm ready. I've got Nowhere to Go But Gone.
Oh,
queued
God.
up.
Sorry, Dave.
Let's have some fun with Nowhere.
I'm
to
just
Go
waiting
But
to see what props they bring out for this track. I mean, we did good on the first track.
Gonna head out on the highway. The highway is my friend. Gonna head out west, where the highway ends. Then I'll stop in Vancouver, turn south towards LA. 1,200 miles of surfers waiting far away. There is no trip like a road trip. Nowhere to go, nowhere to go, nowhere to go but gone.
Yeah.
Not nowhere to go, nowhere to go.
I love it.
Nowhere to
You gotta love it.
Is that in the merch store?
It's an experiment.
Watch a lot of sunset.
Got wacky.
Yeah.
In a bar down on Beale Street, some Memphis barbecue. Home is 14 hours if I drive straight through to you. There is
Yeah,
no
look at that.
trip like a road trip. Nowhere to go, nowhere to go, nowhere to go but gone. Nowhere to go, nowhere to go, nowhere to
Oh, yeah.
go but gone. Nowhere to go, there's nowhere to go but gone. Nowhere to run but on. Nowhere to
My new shirt. You gotta laugh.
But when I return, the bridges I burned have been
Look at this. It's your soul one.
Take a breather, good to get some air, good to be reminded of what is out there. There is no trip.
When was the last time you had to play the guys like us on this show?
Nowhere to go,
got a live music video going on here. Ah, that's fantastic.
Another very, very hooky song. This is a little bit more of a hard rocker than.
Yeah.
You like
Yep.
that?
Yep, very much
oh,
so.
good, yeah.
TheKingsAreHere.com. That's the website across the bottom. And while we were playing and having fun with the beach towel and T-shirts and things, we got a sale made. So Gary from Texas just ordered the LP. So thank you.
Yeah, rock and roll.
Fantastic.
Oh, right on, Gary.
Wait, is that T-shirt available for sale?
Actually, not yet.
We got some prototypes. Cool though, eh? Isn't that something?
Yeah.
I love it. That's a fantastic T-shirt.
Get some made up though.
We'll get you. We couldn't find a guy in North America that did the process that did this. We had that made in England.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing,
So
isn't
we
it?
got like just 3 or 4 of them made, and
Yeah. Hopefully you can make some more.
yeah.
We're getting some more. We are.
Nice. So let's go back in the day, because I want to ask you about your American Bandstand appearance. What did it feel like for guys from Canada to go down to, I assume, Philadelphia, and
Was
be
it
on that
Philly or was it LA? Was it Philly?
Was the ABC studios in LA.
Oh, it was
was
in
it
LA at that time. Okay. What did it feel like to do that?
Well,
It was frightening.
yeah, it was pretty scary. I mean, of course, we all grew up, even in Canada, knowing Dick Clark, and our manager Randy Phillips arranged it with Elektra to do that when we were our first trip to Los Angeles, and so we got to the ABC studio. We walk into the big soundstage, and he did, like a lot of those shows, they do 4 or 5 at a time, or a month's worth at a time. And so Kool and the gang were finishing up the week before our week was on.
Right.
And so, and we were on with Rockpile with Nick Lowe and
Nice.
Dave.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They did Teacher, Teacher, and another song, I can't remember. But it was it was crazy. But the good thing about it, as far as being nervous, was because it's a lip sync show, you don't have to play live and worry about sounds and playing perfect and getting all that kind of stuff. You just have to, you can do whatever you want, and not, you're never going to hit a wrong note because the album is playing. And like with the story, we always Dave and I were in the makeup room.
All the big mirror, big fancy makeup chairs, and we're in there getting powdered to make. So we look, and all of a sudden, we're Zero and I are looking at each other in the mirror going, well, this is wow. And all of a sudden, in the mirror, you look, here comes Dick Clark with his own makeup girl, sits beside us, right beside us. It's like, boom, we're all looking at each other in the mirror, looking at, he did his pre-interview. He interviewed us there. We're just chatting, and made us feel really comfortable. And just sitting there talking with Dick Clark, and we're looking at us in the mirror at each other. And when we go out and do our first song, which we only did half of the segue, because we only Switchin' the Glide was the single of the original single. It's part of why it was on the chart so long. And in between the 2 songs, the second song we did was Don't Let Me Know. In between, he had basically in the interview asked us the exact same questions as we were talking about in the makeup room.
He's such a professional who knew how to break the ice with us in the dressing room kind of thing, and then come out and so you're familiar with where he was going to go with the questions.
That was good of him. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can, although they've never released our performance on YouTube of the songs we played, Switchin' the Glide and Don't Let Me Know. The video we made for the segue, This Beat Switchin', we licensed 1 minute of footage from that performance. That's what they let us have. And if you watch the video, which is 5.7 million views now, a separate deal that worked out with Dick Clark Productions was to have him hold up our album, you know, and say, please greet the Kings, because that's what he did on the show. And that was a separate deal from licensing the footage. And I remember trying to think, well, it's worth a shot. But you go, well, who's more famous than Dick Clark? You know, I mean, he's as well known as anybody.
Yeah.
And so what's that going to cost? And then, so because I have the connection from getting the license for the other stuff, I had just asked about that, and I got a signed contract from Dick Clark. And what do you think it might have cost to get him to let us use that footage and to have, you know, the rights to have it shown on our video? Anyway,
In perpetuity.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say 75 cents so that I'm not surprised.
Well, that's pretty
That's
the Price is Right kind of a thing. You go low on that.
You know what? I have no idea what that would be, but I'm gonna just throw out a number because I have no clue. But I've tried to license things and it's been ridiculous amounts. I'm gonna go with 28,500.
It was $1,000.
That's it.
Wow, that's wonderful.
That shows you what kind of guy Dick Clark was.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, when I got that back from them, I was the same reaction. How can that be possible that
Yeah.
I can get this for that? You know,
But he stepped up and let us have that. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kings, you know.
please
Wow.
greet the
Why
Kings.
not? Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
So that
You know,
was
there's a lot of bandstand footage that has gone missing. You know, all the late 60s, early into the early 70s
right.
is gone, which is a shame. So, I mean, Blue Ash was on Frank Sessage's band. They were on Bandstand and Raider Record, and he'd give anything to have a copy of the video where, you
Right.
know, but that's gone. It's not even it's not even in American Bandstand archives. It's
Well,
just,
we have it.
lost.
We have it, but the deal was to only use a minute. So we've
1 minute.
honored that. We've honored that.
Sure.
I mean, I could put it out, but
Well, I tell you, it's funny to see some of the big band like Blondie and some of the other major bands. Everybody looks like you because it's pretty much your first time you've done a major TV show as a band. Like we were, you feel like, wow, it's like deer in the headlights there to everybody, even like I was
yeah,
saying.
they've released that. You can find that on YouTube as the interview we did with Dick Clark. And you don't really hear it, but when he goes around introducing himself, you know, meeting, shaking hands with the guys in the band, our drummer said,
He says, "Hi, Dave."
Hi, how
He
you doing,
says,
Dave?
Dave Clark.
Thinking it was Dave
Dave
Clark.
Clark.
Dick Clark.
You can hear it.
Back in those days, that was 1980, correct? Bandstand. Did they have to get a tape that you lip synced to? I mean, you weren't lip syncing to an album that would skip, but obviously it had to be a reel to reel tape of some sort.
Probably one of those carts like they use in the radio.
Or a cart, like a cart.
Yeah.
Okay. I was always interested in how they did that.
It's like on the Flintstones, and rock is gone, or and rock is gone.
or like that thing you do when Tommy D's playing his first little show at the high school, and the kid puts his track on the vinyl, and he's lip syncing. The kid bumps the record player. And goes,
You don't want that to happen. You don't want
I don't
that.
even know how you guys about bands are able to lip sync. I would screw up a lip sync. I don't even know how
It's
you guys
difficult.
get that right.
You really have to study what you did, you know, and even the breathing is, you know, because I've had to do it a bunch of times now, and it's like, wow, because it's so easy to look like an idiot, you know.
Now, you
I
guys-
think
when you met
in lip syncing that the drummer has the hardest job of all because he's
Oh yeah, when you drum, pretending he's drumming.
because you can easily see if he's not doing a fill correctly, his hands are going completely.
That was
You're
fun.
strumming a guitar, most people aren't recognizing that has anything to do with what you're actually playing. But if the drummer's off over here, it's like that's not.
I think Bob had it so rehearsed to go into the studio that those parts were all nailed down. And, you know, we all knew exactly what we played because we'd done it so many times.
And the drummer does have to hit the cymbal, but not hard enough to make very much noise. He just
Right.
has to get moving pad, you know. They can't go crash. It's got to be just like, you know.
Yeah. Same with the toms and everything else. Just lightly
Put towels on it and stuff.
Because I remember like one of those videos where when Ringo was sick and Jimmy Nicol was subbing, and they did one of those BBC shows where it was lip synced. But you know, Nicol was doing all this kind of thing, but he wasn't anywhere near the ride. He wasn't anywhere near the. He was making sure he wasn't hitting anything. But it was so obvious that
He would just be sitting there with no drums and just pretending, right? You know, like a kid.
we went to see Ringo last year at Massey Hall in Toronto, and
Oh, nice.
he's
great.
just so great.
When you met Dick Clark, it sounds like you had a bit of an out-of-body experience.
Oh, it was. Yeah.
Shut up, John Borat. And what was I going to say? I had the same thing when I interviewed Brian Wilson. I was visualizing from afar myself doing the interview. I know, Dave, that you're a huge Beach Boys fan, and I know that. And the Kings, didn't you open for the Beach Boys at one point?
Yes, we did in Toronto, and actually that was a great thing too. They were great guys, but Brian wasn't there. But Carl, it was funny. We had a small video camera. We were right at the side stage. She was shooting them, and actually our drummer got invited to go up and play because they had two drummers at the point. So our drummer got to sit in and actually play with them with the other drummer, and Carl got the video camera from us. And he's on stage. He's shooting us at the side of the stage and shooting them down the back.
So you let us
That's
up to
too
the
cool.
encore just on the
Nice.
side there.
Yeah, it was
I
great.
saw one of the drummers was Bobby Figueroa, who I know now. He's a really good guy. Was Dennis not drumming with him at that
I
point?
think John Stamos might have been there though.
Really? What year is this?
That would have been
Mid '80s sometime.
mid to late 80s
Oh,
sometime.
okay. This is well after then.
Yeah, Dennis would have been gone, I guess.
Yeah.
I know I love your version of California Girls in that one movie video for lot. Was that where's that from? I forget.
That's a Heatwave show.
Live Heatwave, yeah, live from Heatwave. California. I didn't even know where that song was going because I hadn't seen that before. And I'm like, what song? What is this?
I know this song, don't I?
And then you go into East Coast. I'm like, oh my God, they're covering the Beach Boys, and this is completely different.
King style.
It's funny you say that because we just put it back in our set.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, that's the thing about familiar music for people. They all know Switchin' the Glide and that, but there's a lot of stuff that we play that it's great music and everything, but it hasn't been a hit, and so sometimes we just think, well, maybe it'd be good to throw a cover tune in there and
Do it our way.
yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
never-
Do it our way.
and so
I loved it.
we've been rehearsing that one recently, actually, and we've just been looking at revisiting doing another mix of the version that you were talking about from Heatwave because the mix was done a long time ago, and I think that probably make it sound better now with the technology that's available.
Oh yeah, indeed.
Now I wanted to. I mentioned earlier before we brought you on that This Beat Goes On, Switchin' the Glide reached number 43 on Billboard and was on for an astounding 23 weeks. Apparently, you guys met with an Elektra representative not too long ago, and he explained to you why it wasn't a bigger hit than it was.
Well, that's
A little bit of corruption, a little bit of music biz corruption going on.
well, there was a book put out called Hitman by Frederick Dannon years ago, and it talks about
Love
the
that book.
payola scandals of the early 80s, which is another word for that is independent promotion is what they called it. I mean, it's
Very independent. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's been around forever. It'll be around forever.
We got called out at that particular point in time.
We're not mentioned in that book, but we were a part of the fallout.
We
of
were
it.
right in there. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And so we had lunch with a friend of ours who used to work for them back 3 or 4 years ago when we were playing in New York, and we had a lunch in Manhattan with this friend of ours, and he was saying that we got added to WLS, which is the big AM station out of Chicago, which is this clear channel station. They still have the license for they don't have to turn down their wattage at night because when they did the legislation that if you had too many watts, you had to turn down an AM signal at night. so it wouldn't go too far. But they were allowed to keep the 50,000 watts or whatever.
Yeah, we could pick it up, but when I was brought up in New York, and yeah, on certain nights you could hear it.
Wow,
Right.
really?
So it was down in Texas and all over the place. And when we got that ad, when WLS added This Beat Goes On, Switchin to Glide, we were actually at the Electra office in New York City. And like they were all jumping up and down and freaking out, and we're going, why, you know,
What's going on?
they got the Stoli vodka going and everything else. So it was a big party. And we didn't understand it, but of course now, you know, we realized that. And this friend of ours that worked for Electra, he said that when you got that ad, that was a one-way ticket to the top 10 on Billboard. But because of the scandal at the time and the independent promotion with all these guys, that kind of put the anchor on it. And so we stalled at 43 after, you know, months and months on the chart. And it's funny though, because I put a couple things once in a while. I was listening to the radio years ago, and they played Solitary Man by Neil Diamond. And they said, you know, that song only got to 47 or 57 on the Billboard chart. And I went, God, we did better than that. You know, Solitary, it's a great song by Neil Diamond, you know?
Yeah.
And so we, if you look it up on Google, you can find huge songs that you know that never made the top 40.
Oh yeah.
Like AC/DC and, you know, all sorts of bands and huge songs that you know. So it's, you know, we're just one of those bands that didn't get into the top 40.
You know, like I mentioned, I mean, in the Still of the Night by the Five Satins, that has finished number one in poll of thousands of songs of the number one all-time oldie. It only reached number 23.
Right.
And you'd think it was a number one record at the time, not even close.
Well, we got into the
songs just gained currency over the years. And,
and we got into the
yours is one of them for sure.
Well, thank you. We got into the top 10 on WLS. We got to number 8 or 9 on WLS on their chart, right beside John Lennon's song, you know, from Double Fantasy.
Oh, yeah,
that one.
Yeah, nice.
You know, that was out at the same time, and you know, it's like there we are with him. So that's pretty good.
Oh, heck yeah.
Well, you know, if a song is number 43 nationally, you can bet it's top 10 in several markets.
That's right.
Yeah, indeed.
And back, you know, even in the early 80s, there were still regional charts. I mean, when I grew up in 1970, 71, when I was listening to top 40 radio, there could be a hit in New York that wasn't heard in California, for example, and vice versa.
Really regional.
And that was still happening around that time. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys were number one in several places.
Yeah, and each station had their own top 10, you know.
Yeah.
Like the Loop in Chicago or all these other stations. You know, in Detroit, we were big. All the major markets, you know, we did really well. And
especially through the Midwest, right from Wisconsin and right straight down through to Texas. The whole center of the country was really big Kings fans. In fact, we played a lot of gigs in Texas and all through the Chicago area and Milwaukee, all around there. Great.
So you guys are, to quote another great Canadian band's album titled "Riding High." It's a Chilliwack album, which I love.
Chilliwack,
you guys are riding high, and then you come to the U.S. and you play a gig in Denver, your first U.S. show, and it becomes a real debacle, and not having nothing to do with you at all. Tell us about that, because this is bizarre to me.
Well, I think first of all, if you look at the Heatwave concert on YouTube, which is on our YouTube channel, The Kings Are Here, and that's true too.
Right.
And to make an impression in the bar scene when we were playing bars a lot, we used to dress up in these outrageous outfits like spandex pants and yellow overalls for Sonny, our keyboard player. We all had short
tuxedo with spats,
tuxedos and suits and all this stuff, you know, to get more money and more people in the bars. And so we took that to the larger concert stage, and at the Heatwave show that you can see on YouTube, that's the kind of outfits that we were wearing.
I have a zebra striped onesie on, you know, and
If it's good enough for Rod Stewart, it's good enough for the kids.
Yeah, well, he's Rod Stewart. Oh, yeah.
so we go to play and open up for Jeff Beck in Denver. Oh,
And
boy.
nobody knew we were coming.
We were supposed to be at the Red Rock
Rain.
Theater, and it was, or the amphitheater, but it was weather or something, so they changed us, put us in the big arena there in the city. So there was no mention of the Kings opening up for Jeff. So of course we're there, and
When he was touring Blow by Blow at that point with, you know, Jan Hammer and that great instrumental album that he did. And of course there's
so nobody knew there was an opening band like us guys all dressed up in our clown outfits and stuff.
and it's
And,
90% guitar players, you know.
You know, long hair.
And this is your first show in the U.S.
Yeah.
This is no small thing. This is a big deal for you.
So you know, the lights go down, it's all dark, and you know, you hear people, "Hey, Jeff!" You know, Jeff. Well, who's walking out in the darkness? Is us guys. The lights come on, and instantly, boo! and then, oh,
That's true. It's our, you know,
instantly.
our lighting guy, you know, they used to have the spotlights up in the rafters, and you know, but they used to pan them all over the audience, you know, like the spots and all this. So we were watching that, and everybody from the back row was just doing this, you know,
I don't know, 10,000 people, 15, I don't know.
in unison, like
And they started throwing stuff at us.
yeah.
Whatever they can. Whatever they get, putting in their hands in their pocket and getting quarters and whipping a quarter. You hear ding off the equipment or whatever.
Oh God, it was.
I gotta say, one of the funniest things I've ever heard in the documentary and whatnot that you said was the one guy threw his shoe.
Yeah. Well, we were.
And you said they must have really hated us
Yeah.
if the only thing the guy could find was a shoe and he had to walk home from the concert wearing only one shoe. He must have really freaking hated us.
All our management company and some people from the label came out to see us in Denver, and our manager people were there and all that. And the mood in the dressing room after was just like a morgue, you know, it was terrible. And somebody brought in the shoe, and they said they even threw that at you, you know.
Didn't one of the members have blood drawn from?
Well, our drummer had a little cut on his forehead. He got hit by a coin. He was bleeding a bit on his forehead. The rest of them were just standing there like, we made it. We stood our ground for half an hour. We took it for half an hour.
They were throwing like soda cups filled with ice and soda. It was exploding on this. Oh my God Almighty! Welcome to the United States for your first show. Holy cow!
Did that give you the impression that like everybody in every city was going to behave that way?
Well, we did 2 or 3 more shows with Jeff on that run, and the next gig we put our t-shirts and our jeans on, and it was fine.
Oh yeah, we were fine.
And everyone knew you were coming. That's
Yeah.
just amazing that something like that could happen. That
But the stage was total. It took about a half an hour for the crew people to clean up the stage before they could even transfer the equipment around and get Jeff's stuff. There was so much. There was stuff everywhere, like paper towel racks and toilet paper and everything.
When I was doing research for that documentary, I actually found the name of this guy that wrote for the Denver Post or whatever the newspaper was there. He was the music guy, and he wasn't there anymore, but I found his name and I tracked him down somewhere, and I got him on the phone. It didn't make it into the movie, but I talked to the guy and I said, I'm with a band that played in Denver years ago called the Kings. And he goes, McNichol Auditorium, opening for Jeff Beck. I covered hundreds of shows there. I've never seen any band get treated as bad as you guys, ever. You know, so it made quite an impression on everybody that was there.
On a lot of people. Oh Lord!
Part of the longest story ever told. I tell you.
Longest story ever told.
Speaking of which, that's a good segue into another track from the Here's one that I had. Here's one that I think is a lot of fun. I assume this is Sonny. This is She Don't Fool Around. I assume this is Sonny keys playing, but he's doing his best Steve Naive impression here. It kind of reminds me of that sort of Attractions thing. But this is a really fun track that I like a lot. She Don't Fool Around from The Longest Story Ever Told.
Baby, she wears the tightest skirts. She teases me till it hurts. It's nothing to do with you, just inside of you. She don't fool around. She saves it all for me. She don't fool around. Like she fool around with me. And at night she closes all the blinds and turns off all the lights. Just to give me more than she did before. She don't fool around. She stays it all for me. She don't fool around. Like she fool around with me. She wants to see me. She wants to see me soon. She called this morning. I felt this afternoon.
Good drumming. There's an air drum. That's the heart there, buddy. David's got the heart there.
I know, that's why I'm not
She
drunk.
wants to see me.
I love that drumming system.
It's like a train coming down the sky.
This morning.
Right.
I felt this afternoon.
The other thing, over there.
She don't fool around. She saves it all for me. She don't fool around. Like she fool around with me. She don't fool around. She saves it all for me. She don't fool around. Like she fool around with me.
How many takes on that vocal? How many takes on the vocal?
We usually, in the studio with Dave, we usually go through it like 3 times and then comp it if we need to or fix it.
Man,
Yeah.
He's never had to redo more than one line at a time.
The odd time I get lucky, the actual title song, The Longest Story Ever Told, is a one-taker.
Well, it's just that vocal is so much grittier. It's like a twist and shout. John Lennon said I could do it once, and then I had to, I didn't have any more.
Well, then some parts of it I double it. I just double up on it. And that's why it gets a really thick, heavy-duty growl too. And
that song has such a great Attractions feel to me.
We love that one. That's in the set now too.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's
what's in store for the Kings in 2024?
Well, we're just trying to promote this album and do some shows. Actually, that song there, we just put it first in the set. We're going to open with that song because it's
might as well wear the drummer out right away.
they're going to give it to him right off the bat. Yeah. And keep going from there. That's the thing. And then the California Girls is going to be in there, and Nowhere to Go But Gone, and all kinds of great stuff.
Yeah.
And some of the old originals, like I Know So, and It's Okay. Not one bit, not two shits. It's okay.
Don't Let Me Know is in there. And,
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a great set. Someone just commented, the song is called "I Feel Gritty."
Oh yeah, I see.
I feel gritty.
Really good stuff, guys. I mean,
Thanks, Mark.
congrats and best wishes with this album. It's just a good one, really good one. And
it really is. I mean, 20 years is a long wait, but it was worth the wait.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah.
And thank you guys so much for being here. And I want to send you off with a song that means a whole lot to me. One of your songs. Speaking of 20 years ago, This is the title song of your album from 2003, and it's on IPO, the International Pop Overthrow Volume 6 collection.
Right.
And it meant so much to me to have one of your tracks on one of my compilations.
Happy
And
to do
it's a
it.
great song. So let's. I just want to play this one. "Because of You" by the Kings. Here we go.
Hey, great song.
Everybody, listen to me. I've had enough doom and gloom. Having fun is fundamental. Find a girl and follow it soon. Heard the story, the one about the broken heart. Whoa. Gets a little tired, right around the hurting part. The world is full of similar stories. I've seen them all and many more, but things change. It's all because of you. Everything is new. Everything is fine. This morning you called me, woke me up as I was dreaming of you. Had a lot of dreams lately, not too many of them came true. One story, the one about the happy man. Whoa. Tried to live his life according to a happy
When I think that
plan.
you have this type of it really gets people's attention.
Similar dreamers, I never thought that I could be what they chase. It's all because of you. Everything is
Oh, there you go.
everything.
Hey, you got one right there.
There could be no time for looking back. What would be the possible point in that? Now that I'm yours, now that you are mine. Inside my mind, I tried to find some kind of doubt. It isn't there, and I can't figure it out.
Cars are going everywhere.
It's all because of you. Everything is new. Everything is fine. There can be no time for looking back. What would be the possible point in that? Now that I'm yours, now that you are mine. Now that I am yours, now that you are mine. You know what changed it really changed. You know what changed it all because of you. You know what changed it really changed. You know what changed it really changed. You know what changed it all because of you.
All right.
That rocks, man. That rocks. TheKingsAreHere.com. Check it out. Everything you want to know about the Kings, the brand new album. David's holding it up. It's the Kings, the longest story ever told. Look at that. You got to pick it up at KingsAreHere.com.
They are truly kings.
I- This might be our first show ever where we had pretty much live lip syncing going on from.
It definitely is. There is
I love it.
We got props too. We got props.
You got props. It's too bad you guys are so shy and unassuming. The show would have been so much better if you would have just let loose a little bit. But
Well, you know what? You got to have fun, don't you? It's all
absolutely
about,
you do.
you know, we never take ourselves too seriously, but we're seriously about what we're doing. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. And big thanks to Ann Layton.
Oh,
Yes.
Diane is
Felicity
great.
Percy
Doing a
for
great
setting
job
this
for us.
up. We appreciate her as well.
Yeah,
And,
indeed.
David, November we'll do a show with you.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you so
Mark, you
much.
should come up. Mark, you should come up too.
I would love to. If I can, I'm always trying. You know, Toronto is. I love it up there. I have so many friends and so many people to visit and hang out, and to see you guys play IPO would be wonderful. So
Well, let's do it. We'll get
I'm not
together,
gonna
with, with Jamie and everybody and have some fun.
Absolutely.
That'd be
Thank
awesome.
you so much.
Have a great night, everybody. Power. There you go. Power pop is one of the King's favorite subjects.
No doubt about it.
Outstanding. Best
And
wishes
thanks
with
to
this
all the
new
Kings.
album.
All the Kings fans out there, the
Thanks.
Kings, we love you all.
We do.
All the King's men, all the King's
And
horses.
women. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
Have a great night, guys. Thank you.
Mark, thanks.
Well, there you have it, David.
That was so much fun. And no,
What a
nobody was
fantastic episode number 146 with the Kings, Dave Diamond, Mr. Zero.
Yeah, they're
outstanding.
great. They're just great guys. They
And
really
this new album just
They're
top
obviously
to
having
bottom.
a lot of fun doing it. And this new album, yeah, it's filled with so much upbeat stuff and
It's
yeah,
classic. It's just
really
so
cool. They
good.
still got it. Yeah, they really do.
Yeah, indeed. Wonderful show. Wonderful time with a couple of really, really good guys. Great musicians, great songwriters, just super people. It was wonderful. Good get. Yeah, indeed. And now that we're all talking about it, now I almost have to come to Toronto in November.
I really hope you do.
That'd be nice little trip for me. I might get that on my schedule. Yeah.
Well, if I get the same hotel room, it's
I'm
It's
not
good.
staying in the same hotel room with you again. I keep telling you that. All right.
oh man.
I need to have a separate room.
But we didn't try it that one way. I mean, I've been waiting to do that.
Ouch. I need somebody. Ouch. Not just
Yeah, right. All right, so we've got some fun shows coming up as well. Next week it'll just be Mark and me. We haven't done that one for a while. We've got lots to talk about. I have a lot of new music to play.
We may debut our Material Issues top 5 next week. A new segment.
And Mark will talk about the movie that he's going to be in. I can't wait to hear how that goes.
Yeah.
Hopefully, a Stump the Bash is in the offing. It's been a while. Yeah, we'll have all kinds of fun with that.
Yeah, go be great.
The following week, I'm proud to say we're going to have one of the icons of the soft pop world. Those soft pop fans among you, 60s soft pop, certainly worship at the feet of Sagittarius and the Millennium, the group's masterminded by the late great Kurt Betcher. But one of his best side kicks and helpers was Sandy Salisbury, who's a great singer-songwriter in his own right, and as evidenced by the songs that he wrote for those bands and sang, but also this collection of demos called Mellow as Sunshine, which is coming out on Sundazed Records, Sundazed Music, I should say, sometime in early April. So on April 3rd, we're going to have Sandy on there to talk about this and his time in those two bands and the other things that he's done. He's also a writer of children's books.
Wow. Yeah.
Under the name Graham Salisbury. So we'll talk about that as well. On April 10th, we have the great Linus of Hollywood.
Yeah. Wow.
Certainly one of the icons of the last 25 years of power pop and soft pop and all the great stuff that he does. And he's working on some new material.
Nice.
So hopefully a new record is in the offing. So we've got him on the 10th, and then on the 17th, and let's see if, yes, I do have it handy, on April 17th. And this album is coming out on Friday, I believe, on the Bigster label, The Circle, with an album called Revival. And indeed it is. And these guys still, they are not trying to rest on their laurels. These guys have a lot of new things to say and sing about. and they're in really good voice. I can't wait for people to hear some of the songs on this one.
Cool.
And one of the main men of the circle, Don Daneman, will be our guest on April 17th. I'm sure most of you know the circle for their hits Red Rubber Ball and Turn Down Day. And there are new versions of those songs as bonus tracks. But most of the album are newly written songs. And again, showing the band to be in really top form. So
interesting side note. All this rough looking me, this is all in preparation for this film I'm starting to shoot this weekend. But the actress playing opposite me, she was asking about the show, and I was going, who's coming up, and I said, oh, we've got the circle, and she went, Red Rubber Ball. I said, yeah. You Turn Down Day, yeah. So
wow.
that was a big thing for her, and she's like, I gotta tell this friend, because this friend, I get this. So she's got a whole litany of friends that know the circle. So that's going to be kind of cool. Yeah,
that's wonderful. And I'm currently working on a few big gets here, so hopefully they end up coming to fruition. We shall see.
Wow.
But that's what we have in store for the next month or so.
Got a lot.
Yeah, and then of course IPO happens after that. We're in Chicago starting on April 19th at Montreux Saloon, and then at the end of May into June in Liverpool at the Cavern Club. And then the second weekend of June will be at the Drop-In in Copenhagen for a second straight year. And then the following week we'll be in Stockholm at a brand new venue called Encore. It'll be our first time in Stockholm since 2019. So we can't wait to go back. And then, we've got a whole bunch of other IPO shows scheduled for the rest of the year. So we're looking forward to a lot of fun.
Wonderful, man. We got a lot of great stuff coming up at the show. We got a lot of great stuff, a lot of great cities coming for IPO. So make sure that you follow us here on Facebook. Tell your friends about this and tell them to follow us, or subscribe over on YouTube at materialissues.com. This is the best pop interview show out there. I mean, it
really is. I mean, I've seen others where, the hosts are just so lackadaisical, and it doesn't, we're nothing but exuberant, ebullient, if you will.
Ebullient.
And I think it does get the guests a little bit hyped up. And, like the guys in the Kings, they were having so much fun because they knew we were having so much fun. It's contagious. And we really do have fun. This is just something we do for love. That's it. And
it's a great time. So we're glad all of our friends that join us. That's the other thing I don't like about other sites. They go, well, we're glad for our fans. I don't think we have fans. I think we just have a bunch of friends that come and join us and watch here. That's what we have. And we
want to be fans of us, right?
Exactly.
But you do want to be our friends, and that's more important.
That is much more important. And we appreciate everybody hanging out here with us and forwarding it on your sites and things and saying, hey, go check out materialissues.com. So a lot of great stuff coming up. Always great to hang out with you, David. We hope you feel better. Me
too.
Yeah.
Although I will say this show, at least for the hour and a half that we've done it, it's taken my mind mostly off of everything. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, good. All right, my friend. Well, have a great rest of your evening. We'll see you back here next week, where we've got episode number 147 coming up. It'll be David and I having a good time with Stump the Bash, maybe a top 5 list, new music, all kinds of neat stuff. So we'll see everybody next week, which is March 27th, Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. If you're in the middle in the mountain sometime, I can't figure that out, but join one of the other 2 times.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Stay safe. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next.